We have 4 presentations today, and we'll have time for questions at the end. Please feel free to submit any questions in the chat box. And if you are calling in via the conference line, please have your phone on mute or your speakers turned down. We will also be recording today's webinar. The recording, along with the presentations, will be housed on the Go Solar Texas website, which is linked at the bottom of the screen and will also be on the final slide. The focus of today will be on solar for independent school districts. ISDs have unique opportunities to adopt solar energy and provide educational experiences for students. We are excited to share some resources today that will help enable schools to choose to go solar. A brief overview of who we are. We are the North Central Texas Council of Governments, or the COG, and we are a voluntary association of local governments. We are one of 24 COGs in Texas, and our main function is to transcend jurisdictional boundaries to promote sound development and facilitate cooperation among our member governments. For more information, you can visit our website, which is linked here at the bottom. There are various reasons for why the COG is focused on solar. To the right, you can see there's a lot of solar energy potential in Texas. We aim to help the region and the state reach various environmental goals, such as improving air quality by using solar as a zero-emission energy source, and various energy goals, including increasing local energy reliability. The COG has expanded our involvement in an effort called Solar Ready 2 program that we worked on through the Department of Energy's Sunshot Initiative to a statewide effort contracting with the State Energy Conservation Office. With this effort, we will be performing various tasks through August 2016, as listed below, including outreach to niche markets such as independent school districts through this webinar. The goal of the project is to encourage local governments and other partners to establish processes and procedures that expand access to solar energy systems across the state. Our first presentation will be from Jim Schreibner, the Director of Facilities and Operations at Irving ISD. Jim has been employed with Irving Independent School District since August 2002. He received a BS in Engineering Technology from Texas A&M University and a master's degree in Educational Administration from the University of North Texas. He was awarded the Sadie Ray Graff Award for Educational Administrators by Keep Texas Beautiful in 2014 and is currently serving as Treasurer for the State Board of Texas Energy Managers Association and the President of the Board of Directors for Keep Irving Beautiful. Jim, we're going to share our screen with you now.
Great. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Scribner, as Rachel said. And I'm one of the 2 case studies we're going to talk about a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Lady Bird Johnson Middle School. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes of your time and talk about, Lady Bird Johnson Middle School. A lot of you guys have heard about Lady Bird Johnson. But again, I want to reemphasize some of what Rachel had said earlier. It's not just today that we've talked about renewable energy resources. All the way back in 1931, Thomas Edison really started talking about sun and solar power. Albert Einstein, 1934, creating better solutions for problems. And then, of course, Lady Bird Johnson in 1968. We are obligated to leave the country looking as good, if not better, than when we found it. So you start thinking about these things, we start thinking about what can we do as educators to educate our children, but also to set the stage, basically to show through our own actions how we can do these types of things. The Lady Bird Johnson Middle School. A lot of you are familiar with it. It was the first net zero public school in the state of Texas. It was the first net zero middle school in the country. It is the largest net zero public school in the country and is named for Lady Bird Johnson. We named it for Lady Bird Johnson because she really started the conservation movement in Texas and in the country. I remember growing up as a young man back in the 70s, and she really started, beautifying Texas highways and beautifying the country. So it was a real honor for us to actually name the school after Lady Bird Johnson, and in fact, her daughter was at our dedication. Well, let's talk about specifically what we're here to talk about today, guys. Let's talk about strategies to produce energy. Let's talk about solar power. At Lady Bird Johnson, we actually opened Lady Bird Johnson in August of 2011, so we're in our 5th year right now with Lady Bird Johnson. Some of you guys may look at these panels and go, man, those look pretty unique. Well, they're from a little company called Solyndra. I think just about everyone has heard about Solyndra and all the issues that they had. But at the time when we were developing this system back in 2010 and 2011, Solyndra had probably the most efficient solar panel, the most productive solar panel available at the time. We put 2,988 panels on the roof of Lady Bird Johnson Middle School, 191 watts per panel. It's basically a 550 kilowatt array. At the time we did this, again, 5 years ago, it was one of the largest single arrays for a single building in the state. We have approximately 66,000 square feet of solar panels on top of that. And guys, basically, the solar panels produced over 99% of the energy that we consume at Lady Bird Johnson Middle School every year. We also have wind power there, but it produces less than 1%. And the school is truly a net zero school. What I mean by that is over the course of a year, I don't do it every day, but over the course of a year, we produce as much electricity as we consume over the course of the year. But you notice it says Solar Technology Original System. We have had this system in place for 5 years. In the summer of 2012, those of you that lived in North Texas, remember we had some pretty significant thunderstorms and hailstorms. In fact, at Lady Bird Johnson Middle School, we actually got hailstones the size of grapefruit. I live about 10 blocks from Lady Bird Johnson Middle School and took a grapefruit-sized hailstone through the back windshield of my wife's car. So we did take significant damage to the actual solar array. What was very unique, though, guys, about the type of technology that Solyndra originally brought to the market is all those individual, if you see that the individual tubes, those are all in parallel. So if a tube breaks, you do not lose the actual production capacity of the entire array. You just lose the production capacity of that tube. What we did in 2012 after the hailstorm is we basically took all of the undamaged panels of Solyndra and we moved them over onto one side of the roof, and then we took actually and put a different array on the west side of the roof. So when we originally built Lady Bird Johnson, everywhere you see that gray is where we have solar panels. And again, in 2011, that was 2,988 Solyndra panels. Again, approximately 66,000 square feet of arrays. It's about a 550 kilowatt array with 2 PV-powered inverters available for it. We also have a viewing platform. The red platform here in the middle is a viewing platform for student access. We also do tours of Lady Bird Johnson so people can actually see what part of the array looks like. In 2013, again, we did have to update the array. Solyndra panels were no longer available. So what we actually did, ladies and gentlemen, on the west side of the building, we used Kyocera panels. It's the new Kyocera KD320. They're a 4.3 foot by 5.5 foot solar panels. It's a 320 watt panel. So basically what I now have is a 230 kilowatt array on the east side of the panel and a 292 kilowatt array on the west side of the school. So we actually now have 2 different arrays going to 2 different inverters. You can see the green here, those are now all Kyocera panels. All those across the top are Kyocera panels. The blues, again, are all still our Solyndra panels. So we have approximately 2,500 panels still on the roof of Lady Bird Johnson Middle School. Everybody always asks, the first thing they ask is, okay, how much did it cost? Guys, if you look right here, the solar array, 600 kilowatt array, the cost back in 2011, again, remember guys, this was 5 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, was about $3 million or $5 a watt. We went through and did a lot of analysis, and the entire cost of doing net zero, which included the wind turbines, geothermal HVAC, water wells, all the LEED certification, and we are LEED Gold certified, came to about $3.75 million for additional deals. But we still got about a 13-year return on investment, even with the additional $3.7 million investment. with the expected life of a solar array of 20 to 25 years, that's still a good return on investment. People always say, well, you know, net zero, can't you take it off grid? I wish I could. Unfortunately, guys, that's not the way, you know, we're kind of limited on the space of the site and limited on the size of the array. The 550 to 600 kilowatt array was the largest array we could put on the roof at the time. As you notice, the red here on this chart that goes up and down, that's our actual consumption over the year, and the green's our production. You see this June, July, and August here, you notice that beautiful green deal. That's where we kind of make up over the summer for the extra energy that we had to pull off the grid during the year. So again, I really wish that I could be, you know, totally off-grid, but we cannot. We just didn't have enough money, just didn't have enough space on the site at the time to actually, you know, try to do a full 100% all the time net zero school. People also always ask, okay, what's the actual operation of the school? We designed the school to have an energy use index, which is your KBTU per square foot per year. We anticipated around 22.8. Guys, we're running right at 20 on our EUI. Lorenzo de Zavala Middle School is one of my middle schools. It's very similar to Lady Bird Johnson. It's got an EUI of about 59. Just to let you guys know that our energy managers, we are working to get that better. The average Texas middle school has about a 53. So, guys, we're basically running about 40% energy usage of a regular school, and again, so much of that is due because of the solar. I'm going to try to wrap this up. Again, I don't want to take too much time, but guys, conclusions on solar technology in a school. Number one, guys, solar works. Whether you're trying to do net zero or you're trying to even just shave off the peaks to reduce your wires charges, solar works, guys. It helps reduce things, and it could actually be integrated into your school. The next step, what we really need is better storage technology. It would be fantastic if there's some type of battery technology that we could take the solar that we don't use in the summer, store it ourselves, and just reuse it. It would significantly reduce our wires charges or our TDSP charges. Guys, the costs are coming down. We're seeing a significant decrease in costs over the last 5 years. As I stated before, when we did this in 2011, we were looking at about $5 a watt to do a brand new array, you know, on a brand new building. Now, of course, if you're doing a retrofit, it's always going to be more expensive because you're having to tie into existing systems, having to tie into existing roof structures, so a little less expensive. I've been seeing arrays these days in the $2.50 a watt from good reputable companies. Not some of your fly-by-night, I'd be Joe Solar's company. So you're actually seeing, in just less than 5 years, we're seeing a reduction in almost 50%. So when we look at the cost per watt in 2017 and beyond, who knows what the cost is going to do? We're seeing efficiencies going up, costs coming down every year. What's nice about having 2 different arrays on my school is we've actually got this integrated into the curriculum for the science department, for the math department, for the social studies department, the reading department. This is actually integrated. And even though the key is here is a flat panel, traditional flat panel array versus the Cylindra, the 3 years difference in technology, the Cylindra panels are more efficient. So every day we're seeing panel efficiencies going up and costs coming down. So basically, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Questions? Rachel, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you, Jim. So we'll have time for questions at the end. Jim's going to have to hop off prior to that, but he said that you guys can email him and we'll be able to provide you with that information. Our next presentation will be from Dennis McIntyre, the Superintendent of Presidio ISD. Dennis has been the Superintendent at Presidio for 6 years, and he's earned a bachelor's degree at Austin College, a master's degree in Computer and Cognitive Systems at the University of North Texas, and a master's degree in Education Administration at Lubbock Christian University. I'd also just like to remind participants to please mute your phones. We're getting a couple of feedback. Dennis, we're going to go ahead and share our screen with you.
All right. Now I'm going to start off with just a small little introductory PowerPoint. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Do I have Steve and Ruben on with me?
Yes, Steve Konetsky's here.
Okay.
Yes, Ruben, I'm here.
As we go through here, this is just kind of a reminder of what West Texas is like. We have wide open spaces and abundant sunshine. Steve Konetsky he's the owner and founder and head of everything at Konetsky Engineering in Austin. And for the last 9 or 10 years, he has been our full partner in making sure that everything we do is electrically and systemically sound and moving right ahead. I'm not going to pull the full slideshow up.
Dennis, could you speak a little louder?
Yeah. And then Ruben has been really the partner of Steve as we move through this construction program at Presidio. And to give you an idea of where we are, it just is forever out there. Now, between Steve and Ruben, they have touched virtually every part of the construction and the installation and the actual moving ahead in the energy program that Presidio has seen. This kind of gives you an idea of the temperatures we deal with every year. Winter's 120. We average 102 in the summer, but it's a dry heat. And that's kind of where we are and where we live. Now, what we've done in Presidio is we've looked at all of the different things that go into what's happening with the solar. And these are the initiatives that have really done. We've put solar panels that generate behind the meter. We have solar hot water systems feeding cafeterias. We have an aggressive insulation program eliminating all the fiberglass batting that we can eliminate. That cleans up the air. It makes for better air circulation. We're installing foam throughout the entire envelope. Now, sometimes that's even on the outside of the building. We have a computer-managed HVAC system throughout the district, and it's under the control of one central director, and that's Ruben in operations. We have the installation of efficient lighting systems throughout, and occupancy control lighting and sensor bathroom fixtures. Steve, do you have anything? What have I missed here? Did I miss anything on that?
No, sir, that pretty much covers it on a
Now here's the thing. When you look at something like Lady Bird Johnson Middle School, you really see an aggressive solar program, and you see a really state of the art with just everything that we'd want to be. But what about the small districts in the state? And in Presidio, the small district, we have about 1,400 kids. We have 3 main buildings. And the issue is almost always in 4 isolated districts, one of money. What can you do with it? So what we've done to be able to afford these systems is we've gone out and we've looked for grants everywhere. We've gone to Congress for them. We got a pork barrel earmarked for one. We've done it. Steve has been really good about helping us get NCTCOG grants where we can actually afford to put these solar systems on our building. Everything that we've done has been cash and carry. We have to save the money in order to put in the system. Our community is so poor with such a small economic that bond issues and extra taxes are just not in the mix. It just can't happen. But as we go through this, and what we get to be sure of is that we can afford it and we can do it. The whole intent is as we get more poor and more poor, and that's the only number for Presidio, we're going to have to start looking for ways to keep cutting costs. We're looking at about $1 million of reduced funding from the state in 2017. Where do we find that money? Well, one of the things we can do is we can look at everything we do and we try to become more and more efficient. That's where solar comes in. The one thing we do have is sunshine. As you look at this historical record of our expenses, you can see what these programs have done. We started out in 2012 with about $210,000 a year in electrical costs. And as we've put in these different systems and put in the solar, you see we've cut virtually in half, down to $101,000. That's the impact. What do we do with $100,000 that we used to spend on electricity? Well, we hire better teachers. We put resources into the classroom that it's good. and we do it without raising taxes. And that's the perspective of solar with a small school. And it's a complete system. And I have to emphasize that. It's not just the solar panels. It's how you manage all of that, all of the resources that you have, how you manage the HVAC, how you manage the entrance and exits in the buildings. Do you have multiple door systems? Do you just have one? Are you air conditioning the desert? And what are the different things that you put in place? And that's just kind of touching the surface. Steve is also worked with Irving. They've put in generated backup systems. We do have a battery in Presidio, and if Steve wants to, he can tell you about that one. That's a pretty amazing backup system. But the whole thing is designed to work continuously and just cut down on a daily basis what energy we use. At the elementary school, the latest one where Steve and Irving put the solar panels on the roof, it generally, for the most part, generates just as much electricity as it spends on the sunny day. As we look through our records, we make about $50 a day with that one system. Our technology is run by solar almost completely. The main system is run by a solar array. So we do that with solar. So anytime, guys, if there's anything really, Steve?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I guess just to kind of add to this, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Like Mr. McIntyre said, not only are we looking at solar PV for the high school as well as the elementary school, we've got a 75 kW ground-mounted system at the high school. We've got a 100 kW roof-mounted system at the elementary schools. Again, y'all seen the numbers where they've cut their energy costs, but it's really more of a total energy conservation program that we've implemented, with solar being a big part of it. Obviously, you know, anywhere from new energy-efficient air conditioning, the new energy-efficient lighting, the insulation. Of course, you've seen the climate in Presidio, you know, the extreme temperatures with the foam, spray foam insulation on the building envelopes, and then as well as the solar PV based on, you know, they've got, you know, not 365 days a year, but, you know, pretty close to, you know, a lot of sunlight, obviously, in Presidio. So it's been an overall comprehensive program for Presidio. I think one of the unique things is and I'm based here in Austin, so I have a lot of I've got a lot of things, access to a lot of, I'm losing my words, the resources, a lot of resources available to myself in Austin when we do projects in Austin. In Presidio, being as remote as they are, you know, they're 4 hours, their closest qualified contractor on anything, HVAC, electrical, solar, plumbing, you name it, is literally 4 hours away from the El Paso or Midland, Odessa area. So being able to do these projects, being as remote they are, they did an outstanding job. And the way we were able to do this is, you know, our role as the design engineer, we also assisted Presidio. Their procurement was direct. So they did not go out and do this in a traditional design, bid, build format. They had licensed electricians on staff. We helped them with the design. They were able to go out and procure the materials and then did the install locally. And so they were able to get that, you know, we were seeing that $5 a square or $5 a watt. You know, that was a very common cost per watt back 5 years ago. I think they did, and I haven't seen the numbers. I haven't gone back and looked at the numbers, but I'm pretty confident it was about $2.50 a watt 5 years ago. So we were able to effectively, you know, get these systems installed in a very, very cost-effective way, primarily because they're so remote. And you think about the cost of bringing one of those contractors to Presidio, you're going to pay all the per diems, the travel expenses, mobilization, very, very expensive when you have to travel 4 to 8 hours to Presidio. So they're thinking the way to get a lot of work done at a, get the best for their dollar was very, very challenging. And so I think we're all proud of the way we were able to get these systems installed in a very cost-effective way. I think the other thing is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Let me interject something right there and then go on. And the way that happened is we have to kind of put that in Ruben Armendariz' court here. We would come in, we would have an installer install the first system of the panels, and then Ruben and his crew would watch and work with them and learn, and then from then on, we'd install our own panels. There would be nobody coming in and doing this for us. Ruben and his maintenance department would just put them in ourselves. So from now on, we can install our own panels. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so anyway, just a couple of things. Again, I just want to really point out that it's been the solar PV has obviously been a big part of this program, but it's been a very comprehensive energy conservation program throughout their school districts, from lighting to HVAC, of course, the solar PV, obviously, and being able to monitor that. They've had very little to no maintenance issues out there. I think dust is being probably one of the issues, but, it can be a very windy and dusty environment, so keeping the solar modules clean can be a challenge sometimes, but that's probably, when it comes to maintenance, probably one of the issues that the biggest issue they face in Presidio versus in Austin or Dallas or San Antonio. But anyway, I was trying to think of the other thing I wanted to point out. Let's see here regarding, and of course, obviously, we had some help, from the funding standpoint with AEP, rebate monies. We've had some NCTCOG grant money that was obviously very helpful, in partnering with those guys on making these projects successful. So that's all I have at this time, so I'll turn it back over to Mr. McIntyre.
Okay, that's pretty much it, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and thank you, Steve and Ruben, as well. Here's a photo of the Presidio Independent School District solar array installed on the roof of one of their schools, and some of the key points of quick facts about the installation. We were able to pull some of this information working on a case study for that independent school district. Additionally, Presidio ISD adopted solar in order to reduce their energy use and costs. They also wanted a renewable energy source to help protect the environment. The solar energy is helping the district meet their strategic goals, and it's been a long-term investment as well as adding value to the school district. As Dennis mentioned, they have additional green features besides the panels, such as the water heater systems, high-efficiency foam installation, control lighting, LED walking lights, motion-controlled sink and toilets, and the students of Presidio ISD run and participate in a cardboard baler program to raise money. The solar array also has offered a lot of educational opportunities to Presidio. The classes can monitor the solar PV energy consumption and production with computer monitoring systems. And through these interactions, students are becoming well-versed in the solar installation. And it's providing career pathways and opportunities that these kids didn't have prior to this experience. Also, the Presidio High School has formed the a solar car challenge team where they participate in a national program designed to motivate students in science, energy, and alternative, science, engineering, and alternative energy. Our next presentation will be from Pam Gross. Pam is the program for the State Energy Conservation Office and has been with STECO for 19 years promoting energy efficiency, renewable energy education and technologies, and sustainability with clean energy. She administers the Innovative Energy Demonstration Program and has managed multiple projects totaling more than $15 million. The program's goals are met through the installation of renewable energy technology demonstrations, energy education for customer base, and through public outreach. These projects are ongoing in an effort to maximize clean energy benefits. Pam, we're going to share our screen now.
Okay, I'm presenting on behalf of Stephen Ross, who manages the local schools and local governments program. I'm sure you're familiar with him, but we just wanted to provide you some information on what we can help do to get you to the point where if solar makes sense to you, then you can include that in your plan. So what we do for the schools and local government program is we provide technical assistance. And what that includes is providing engineering consultants that will go out and look at your facilities, and all of these facilities have to be publicly owned. You can't have, you know, a source other than a school, a city, county-owned building, a state-owned building. And what we're looking at is what we want to consider as low-cost to no-cost recommendations. There's a lot of things that schools can do to save energy without spending any money. So these engineering consultants will go out and analyze your utility bills. They'll walk through your facility and identify things that they think can save you money. Maybe some of your air conditioning is not programmed right and not providing, you know, providing what it can provide up to full scale. I know there's a lot of things here, but I'm going to read through them real quick because this is what really encompasses everything that the program does. So we do on-site assessment. We'll look at your energy and sustainability program guidance, identify low and no-cost energy savings. We look at energy and water management. Water is a part of this plan because it takes energy to produce water. We also do an evaluation of your HVAC system and the controls that go with it. We do training and some workshops on benchmarking. We recommend that, you know, EPA has a great benchmarking tool that allows you to input your utility data, and that way you can track it. We look at water, wastewater treatment plants, water conservation, which is very applicable to schools, and then we'll look at making recommendations for renewable energy applications. Energy efficiency is still the first goal at the State Energy Office, and so we never encourage you to install solar without making some energy conservation or implementing some energy conservation measures first, or you know, encompass with that application of renewable energy. We provide the recommended project payback, or your budget and your payback. We do have a funding source within the State Energy Office, the Lone Star program, and we have not yet at this point been able to include a renewable energy component into a Lone Star project. We're working on one now, and we're hopeful that that'll work out, but it's for a state facility, so there's a lot of opportunities for school districts to come, we hope. To get started with your technical assistance, you would submit a service agreement. We have 2 contractors that we work with. They're kind of broken up in area. You know, Texas is a big state, like Dennis mentioned. You know, you can't cover our state. You could go to another state before you could get all the way across our state. So we have 2 different engineering consultants that do the work, and we send them out. They'll determine the needs and the scope of work. They'll do the site visit. If necessary, if you have all your information available online or somewhere where they can grab it, sometimes they can just do some you know, general compiling of your information, and then, you know, maybe make some suggestions. But usually it's a site visit, and then, you know, if need be, they'll give a presentation to your board or your commission or whoever makes, you know, the decisions for your school district. This is just a summary of the programs or the different entities that we have helped. And if you'll notice, school districts are our #1 customer. And that's, you know, a total of 261 to date. This is just a chart of the different things that they have looked at. Again, independent school districts are our top customer. And usually they're the ones that need the most help because, like Dennis mentioned, he's in a very small school district, and sometimes they don't have the resources. This is just a chart. So we have done work all across the state, and we're here. We would love for you to take advantage of this technical assistance program. There is still funding available through the end of August, and then we start our new fiscal year, and then we'll start over again. This is just kind of a summary of what we have going on right now. 39 school districts have been assessed, and I know it's interesting whenever you submit your form to have somebody come out and do work for you. We have a pretty good turnaround time. It's at 2.2 months. So once you contact us and say that you're interested in having, you know, an energy consultant come out and take a look at your facility, we can have that done pretty quick. And that's, you know, that's from them gathering up your energy information, you know, putting it all in a report and making recommendations. So 2.2 months, we think that's a pretty good turnaround time. I asked Stephen to put some numbers in here because I think that they make a huge impact. We've looked at over 2 million or 27 million square feet. We've assessed 368 total buildings, assessed 368 in water facilities. We've done Energy Star benchmarking. Again, that's the tool that we recommend. With a potential energy saving of 213,266 million, or MMBTUs, and water savings of 71.52 million gallons. So that's a huge impact, energy savings and water savings. These are just some assessment results. The implementation costs of a PEA. The PEA has identified these potential annual savings, and then the return on investment from the PEA recommendations. You're talking about a 7.33 average return on investment. So once they come in, they look at what can be done at your school. They make those recommendations, and then it's usually a really good turnaround. And with the 7.33 average return on investment, that's a pretty good. That fits within most potential payback opportunities. I'm going to skip over that one. That's kind of, again, what we just talked about, in barrels of oil equivalent, things that just make an impact where you as a facility manager would understand, but, when you're making a presentation to your board or your commission, these kinds of things, they can visualize, so they really realize, what the potential savings are. Some of the recommendations that we've made are typical. Change out the lighting to LEDs, LED exit signs. We have exit signs everywhere, and this can really have a huge impact. You have your lighting and your HVAC controls. Of course, having your HVAC replaced. There's smart metering, some retro commissioning, which that's a recommendation. We don't do that, but we make that as a recommendation because a lot of times you can just tweak your system a little bit and it would work much, much better. Again, in replacing your HVAC system. We understand that that is one of the huge energy consumers for school districts. This is just some pictures of the lighting. So if any of this looks familiar to you, maybe it's time that you take a look at it and consider some LED lighting. Again, this is just some gym lighting. Come in and take those T8, T12s out and put in some LEDs. They're becoming a lot more cost efficient and reasonable, and they have a great lighting foot candle. This is just, how much energy, or this is a thermal picture of how much an exit sign uses. That's pretty hot, and if you could replace it with an LED, we're going to try to get an example of what a regular one looks like and then what an LED one looks like. Here's some controls. I'm sure you've all seen these. You probably have them in your building. We can come in and make recommendations to get these upgraded. And of course, here's some old HVAC chiller boilers. I'm sure that you probably all have these that would need to be replaced. Again, just common recommendations. You see the dirt and these are old. There's very efficient HVAC systems out there that can replace these and are much more cost efficient. This is just pictures of old heat pumps, core units that need to be replaced. These are pictures from projects that we've done in the past, and so this would be part of your report. If you had anything that looked like this would be included in your report. Again, here's some old condensers. You see how rusty they are. Of course, metering and sub-metering is always helpful. You don't know where your energy is being used. If you're metering and sub-metering, that just adds to exactly where you know that you can make changes and reductions. Here's some ductwork that is not done correctly, needs some work done to it, of course. I'm sure you've all seen these and may have these in your facilities now. So we would want to tackle all this stuff before we recommend any energy or any solar. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, great. Thank you, Pam.
I'm sorry. All right.
No, that was wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Our last presentation will be from Pari Kasotia, who's the Deputy Director of the Solar Foundation. She joined the Solar Foundation in November 2015 as its first Deputy Director and provides operational oversight for all core functions. She has strong expertise in renewable energy markets, energy efficiency, and biofuels. Prior to her role at the Solar Foundation, Tari led and managed all undertakings of the State Energy Office at the state of Iowa, which included working with local governments, private sector, utilities, and other state governments. Tari, we're going to share our screen with you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. This is, again, Pari Kasotia, Deputy Director at the Solar Foundation. We are a nonprofit organization based out of Washington, D.C. Our mission is to increase understanding of solar energy through strategic research and education that transform markets. And you can learn more about our work and the programs that we do by visiting our website at thesolarfoundation.org. So before I get into our solar schools work, I want to briefly touch on our other programs. We annually put out the Solar Jobs Census Report, where we look at the solar industry and the job numbers nationally as well as by state. And then we also undertake technical assistance program with various communities in the U.S. to help reduce their soft cost on solar PV. And then currently we are also launching 2 new programs to address the workforce development issues with the solar industry. So solar in schools, from what we have seen, is it provides significant financial and environmental benefits, and it's also utilized as a long-term hedge against shifting utility rates, especially for schools who have a pretty set budget. Going solar provides multiple benefits in terms of financial safeguard. And then we are also seeing a number of examples of schools that are putting up solar PV systems, tying that to curriculum development in STEM fields. So as part of our solar schools work, one of the reports that we put out is called the National Solar Schools Census. It looks at schools that have gone solar throughout the U.S. So as of 2014, there are 3,752 schools nationwide with solar installations, which reaches out to 2.7 million students. And that has a total combined capacity of 490 megawatts. And if you convert that to megawatt hours, that's 642,000. And we also see that the solar potential is significantly untapped. Of the 125,000 schools that we have in the U.S., up to 72,000 or 60% can go solar cost effectively, which means that the benefits that they get out of their solar system would outweigh the cost. So if you go to our website, you can download the full report. So this is our website to get to the report. The other program that I want to touch on is called the Brian D. Robertson Memorial Solar Schools Fund. It was established in 2012 to honor the legacy of solar pioneer Brian Robertson. He was one of the founding members of Sun Edison. And what we do here is we gather equipment donations from private companies, and we match them with schools that have a need for solar PV systems. And our systems usually range from 1 to 10 kilowatt systems. So they are small systems, but they are intended for demo of the solar technology and also to be utilized as educational resources. So our goal is to make solar a reality for students across the nation and increase awareness of solar energy. So we have received funds from Canadian Solar and Trina Solar, and we have agreements with other companies right now. So far, we have provided energy education to 23,000 kids through 29,000 plus panels and 72 microinverters. We also work with other nonprofit organizations such as the Greenpeace, Foundation for Environmental Education, and Solar Energy International to get the message out. Our largest project to date has been a 9 kilowatt system installed in a school building in Nevada, and the project helps educate students at this. It's a STEM-focused school, so it helps students utilize the solar PV system for their math and science curriculum. Currently, we have 28 school projects planned for this year and also for the next school year. And one of the other new programs that we will be launching pretty soon is called the Light Your Path, which will provide curriculum to middle school students for exploring careers in the solar industry. Our idea is to deploy this program in the Maryland area, and then if we have enough interest and resources, take it to other states. Lastly, we have a consortium called the National Solar Schools Consortium. We are the host and co-chair of this, and the purpose is to coordinate member efforts to promote the use of solar in schools. And then we also amplify our members' success by acting as a unified voice. So I just want to give a couple of examples of projects that we have supported and how they have been utilized for educational purposes. So Milford High School in Utah installed a 20-kilowatt PV system, and that provides 20% of their electricity. The good thing about this project was it was the students who searched for funding opportunities, and they applied for a grant which was eventually funded. And then their engineering and technology teacher recognized the value in guiding the students through this application process. But once the system was installed, they realized that their tracking system had stopped working, and so it became inoperable. So this was a learning opportunity for the students where they explored various solutions on how to fix this issue and then shared it with engineering professionals who were tasked with fixing the system. So this was a great example of where you were combining STEM subjects with on-hands training and increasing knowledge on the solar PV technology and how that works. Another example is a school in central Vermont called the Woodstock Union High School, where a science teacher led the effort to install a 10-kilowatt solar PV array system, and then she used that to develop science and math lesson plans. So students look at the system performance data to understand how much electricity is being produced and then how much carbon emissions are being offset by the system, in addition to the amount of the money saved. So this system has been incorporated into their science classes, and they understand the physics and the science behind using solar PV systems. So despite all the examples that we have and increasing penetration of solar PV in schools, financing is still a challenge because schools are tax-exempt entities and they cannot benefit from the investment tax credits at the federal level. So from what we have observed is schools are utilizing a mix of financing from bonds to utilizing their operating budgets, and then also looking at grants and loans or rebates as well as third-party financing. So financing is one challenge, but also successful procurement and completion of projects within the time allotted and within the budget is an equal challenge. So ensuring that as schools put out their bids for funding, they have different clauses included which would give them protection. For example, ensuring that the roof integrity is maintained and the system performs at the level that was promised to them, and there is ongoing operational and maintenance support if the systems stop functioning. And then thirdly, understanding and complying with the federal, state, and other regulatory requirements, such as the planning and zoning, permitting process, inspection process, and interconnection process. A number of small communities especially don't necessarily have these regulatory requirements already developed. So the challenge is looking those up, and if they don't exist, ensuring that school districts have the right approval levels from city building inspector or the planning and the zoning team. So paying attention to those things and ensuring that the systems can be deployed as planned. And so here's my contact information, but I also want to just briefly go over our website and show you where our resources are. So if you go to our website, there we have, as part of the Solar Schools Census Report, we also do a map of where all the schools are located. So the golden circle represents existing schools with solar installation, and then green is school savings, schools that have energy savings. And then it's broken down by the dollar amount that you can save. So this was updated in 2014, and we are hoping to update it again this year. And you can see within Texas where the solar penetration in schools is. So it's a good resource, and we are planning to update it this year pending we get enough funding. The other website that we have is the National Solar Schools Consortium website, and it's basically a great website to get resources for your projects that you would like to undertake. If you look at the resources, you can go to the videos section, and then there are videos on Solar PV 101, Solar Schools, NRDC video, just basic resources on solar. If you're interested in including solar PV as part of your STEM curriculum, you can go to some of these other websites that provide you guidance on how to do that. So lots of resources there. And then Help My School Go Solar, you can request assistance from us if you fill this form out. We can review your needs and see if that's something that we can assist with. And then how do solar schools work? Very basic. What kind of solar PV systems you can have. So education-only installations, energy offsetting installations, energy education for classrooms. So if you're considering a solar system, it's very critical to understand what would be the goals of the system, if that's being designed to meet energy needs of your schools, or if it's designed to meet the STEM curriculum requirements, and that would dictate the size of system you would go with. So just a good resource of all the good website for all the resources that we have. That was my last point. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Pari. We had one question come in earlier. I think anyone would know. What kind of storage space are you looking at with the building to house the equipment compared to a traditional electric room? The storage space for the inverters and other equipment necessary for operating the solar panels. Dennis or Steve, would you have any knowledge on that?
Yeah, this is Steve Koneski. I think the photograph we were looking at, that was a mechanical mezzanine where our mechanical electrical panels and HVAC equipment is. And in that particular picture, you can notice there was all the spray foam insulation. So it was up in a mechanical mezzanine at the elementary school.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any more questions that are being shared? Jim, how about for if you have any questions to direct to Jim Schreibner of Irving Independent School District about Lady Bird Johnson Middle School, his information will be available on presentations, and we're going to have those loaded onto our GoSolarTexas.org website specifically. But if there are no more questions, or if there are questions, you can type them into the chat box, and we can ask them for you. And but if there are no more questions, we can keep those questions and be able to follow up with you at a later point.